何かお困りですね。
日本語が話せるのですかね。助かりますね。
はい。
A man worth over $50 billion is treated like trash. He's lost, disoriented and desperate. In one of the most exclusive, expensive restaurants in New York City, he begs for help. Instead, he's met with scorn, with laughter, and with threats of arrest. The staff ignore him. The wealthy patrons mock him. A powerful rival even watches, smiling at his humiliation. But as security guards move in to throw him onto the street, one quiet waitress, a woman drowning in her own debt, freezes. She hears him whisper a single desperate sentence in Japanese, and her life and his is about to change forever. Kaito Tanaka was a man who moved the world, but today the world was moving against him. As the CEO and founder of Tanaka Global, a technology and logistics empire that dwarfed nations, Kaito's face was synonymous with innovation in Tokyo, London, and Shanghai. His name opened doors that were sealed to mere kings. But in New York City, on a Tuesday evening in November, he was just another old man, lost and invisible. He was here for the most important deal of his life, the secret acquisition of Omnicorp, a move that would solidify his company's dominance for the next 50 years. To avoid the press and his rivals, he had flown in commercial, taken a local taxi, and checked into a modest 4-star hotel under a pseudonym. His security detail was under strict orders to remain 2,000 feet away. A ghost watch. The plan was simple: acclimate, review his strategy, and move to the penthouse suite at the St. Regis tomorrow, just before the 9 a.m. meeting. But Kaito liked to walk. It cleared his head. He had left his hotel for a simple stroll, breathing in the crisp, chaotic air of Manhattan. He turned a corner onto a quieter street, admiring the brownstones when it happened. It wasn't a violent mugging. It was artistry. A young man bumped into him, apologizing profusely. A second man, feigning outrage at the first, helped steady Kaito, brushing him down. "Are you all right, sir? Kids these days?" Kaito had nodded, thanked him, and walked on for 2 full blocks before the icy dread washed over him. His wallet was gone. His passport was gone. And his phone, a custom-built, encrypted device, was also gone. He was utterly disconnected. He tried to retrace his steps, but the city had already swallowed the thieves. He looked for his Ghost Watch security, but he was off his designated route. He approached a police officer, but his agitation and his good, but not fluent English, combined with his slightly disheveled suit, earned him a dismissive, "Look, buddy, you got to file a report at the precinct. I'm busy." Panic, a feeling Kaito hadn't felt in 30 years, began to claw at his throat. He needed a secure line. He needed his embassy. He was a Japanese citizen, alone. He wandered for an hour, the sun setting, the city lights mocking him. He was cold, and a deeper, more primal fear was setting in. He saw a building with a grand, marble entryway. A golden plaque read, "The Gilded Spire." It looked important. It looked safe. He stumbled toward it, pushing through the heavy bronze doors, desperate for a moment of sanctuary, a simple request to use a telephone. He was met, not by a concierge, but by a wall of contempt. The restaurant was a sea of hushed tones, crystal glasses, and old money. The man at the restaurant manager's podium was tall, thin, and wore a tuxedo that seemed permanently attached to a sneer. His name was Arthur Blackwood. "May I help you?" Blackwood's voice was a low, insulting drawl. He didn't look at Kaito's eyes, but rather at his suit, a bespoke Brioni, now slightly rumpled, and his windswept hair. "Please," Kaito said, his voice rough. "I need... phone. I am robbed. Please." Blackwood's smile was a thin, cruel line. "Sir, this is a private establishment. We have a strict dress code and reservations." I am important," Kaito stammered, hating how weak he sounded. "My name, Tanaka." "Mr. Tanaka," Blackwood said, his voice dripping with mock politeness. "I'm sure you are. Perhaps you should try the soup kitchen on 52nd. They are far more accommodating." A laugh tinkled from a nearby table. A woman, dripping in diamonds, leaned toward her husband. "My God, Arthur," she whispered loudly. "What is the city coming to? Just letting them in off the street." Kaito's face burned. He was the man who had dined with presidents, and he was being treated like refuse. "You don't understand," he pleaded. My company. I must call Arthur." The woman's husband, a portly man named Mr. Miller, boomed. "Get this vagrant out of here. He's ruining our appetite." Blackwood nodded, his duty clear. "Sir, I am asking you one last time to leave." He snapped his fingers, and two large security guards, previously invisible, materialized from a back office. "No, please!" Kaito felt the panic rising again, choking him. I Tasukete!" The guards each grabbed one of his arms. It was in this moment, this absolute pit of humiliation, that Ella Vance's shift went from bad to worse. Ella was clearing plates from the miller's table, her tray laden with half-eaten lobster. She was 23, but felt 40. She was a final-year student at NYU, majoring in international business with a minor in Japanese. She was also the sole provider for her mother, whose mounting medical bills from a failed experimental treatment for MS were a black hole sucking the life out of her. Ella worked 2 jobs, this and tutoring rich kids on the weekend. She hated the Gilded Spire. She hated the entitlement, the cruelty, and she especially hated Arthur Blackwood. She had been watching the encounter with the old man, her stomach twisting. He looked so lost. Now, as the guards began to haul him backward, he cried out. It wasn't the English, "Help!" It was the Japanese, "Tasukete!" Ella froze. The tray in her hands suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. The entire restaurant was watching the spectacle. The guards were rough, efficient. Kaito, a man of 65, was no match for them. He was being dragged across the plush carpet, his dignity stripped away with every inch. "Sir, please do not make this more difficult," Blackwood said, smoothing his lapels as he followed the procession to the door. Kaito, in a final surge of desperate energy, planted his feet. "Watashi wa Tanaka da! I am Tanaka," he shouted. "Dermo shinjinai noka." "Does no one believe me?" The patrons just winced at the noise. Mr. Miller muttered, "Dreadful." But Ella's blood ran cold. She didn't just speak tourist Japanese. She had lived in Kyoto for a year. She read the Nikkei newspaper online for her business classes. She knew that voice. She knew that face. It was older, more distressed than the photos in Forbes, but it was him. It was the Kaito Tanaka, the shark of Shinagawa, the man whose case study she had just written a 15-page paper on. "Oh my God," she whispered. Her mind raced. This was impossible. But if it was him, this was the biggest mistake in the history of hospitality. Blackwood was at the door. "Good evening, sir." "Stop." Ella's voice cut through the restaurant. It was not a plea. It was a command. She had dropped her heavy tray. It hit the carpet with a muffled thud, but the crystal glasses on it shattered, a sharp, shocking sound that made everyone jump. Blackwood spun around, his face a mask of purple rage. "Vance, what is the meaning of this? You're fired. Clean up this mess and get out." Ella ignored him. She ignored the stares, the whispers, the broken glass at her feet. She walked directly toward the door, her cheap waitress uniform suddenly feeling like armor. She stopped 2 feet from Kaito. The guards paused, confused by her authority. Ella looked Kaito Tanaka directly in the eyes. She gave a short, respectful bow, just as her sensei had taught her. "Tanaka-sama," she said, her voice clear and her accent perfect. "Gobuji desu ka?" "Mr. Tanaka, are you unharmed?" The world stopped. Kaito Tanaka's head snapped up. The desperation in his eyes was replaced by a flash of disbelief, so profound it was almost painful. He stared at her as if she were an apparition. Blackwood's jaw unhooked. "Vance, what are you talking about? Who do you think this—" Ella held up one hand, silencing him. She never broke eye contact with Kaito. "Watashi wa Ella Vance desu," she continued, her voice soft but firm. "NYU no gakusei desu. Tasuke ni kimashita. I am Ella Vance. I am a student at NYU. I am here to help." Kaito's shoulders sagged. The tension left his body, replaced by a wave of relief so strong he almost collapsed. He reached out a trembling hand and grasped her forearm. "Anata wa kami ga okute kureta no desu ka?" "Are you sent by God?" "No," Ella replied in Japanese. "Just a waitress." She then switched to flawless, cold English, her voice ringing with an authority no one in that restaurant had ever heard from her. "Let him go." The security guards, seeing the total shift in power, instantly released Kaito's arms. Blackwood was sputtering. "Ella, what? This is nonsense. He's a bum." "His name," Ella said, turning to face him, her eyes blazing, "is Mr. Kaito Tanaka. He is the CEO of Tanaka Global, and I believe the Millers at Table 4 are currently shorting his stock. You, Mr. Blackwood, have just assaulted one of the 10 richest men in the world." The color drained from Blackwood's face. The Millers at Table 4 froze, their forks halfway to their mouths. Ella turned back to Kaito. "Mr. Tanaka, this way. Please." She led him past the stunned restaurant manager, past the mortified patrons, and into a small, private alcove by the wine cellar. She snapped at another busboy. "Water, and the most expensive brandy we have. Now." She pulled out a chair for him. Kaito sat heavily. He looked at her, his eyes taking in her worn shoes, her name tag. "You speak my language," he said in Japanese. "I studied in Kyoto," she replied. "Mr. Tanaka, what happened? You're safe now." "I was robbed," he said, the words tumbling out in his native tongue. "My phone, my passport. I am here for the Omnicorp deal. It is tomorrow. If I am not there—" Ella's blood ran cold again, for a different reason. The Omnicorp deal. This wasn't just a lost tourist. This was an event that could shift the global economy. Before she could reply, a new voice, slick and amused, cut in. Well, Kaito-san, having a little trouble with the local riffraff?" A man stood from a dark corner table, one Ella hadn't even noticed. He was handsome, in a predatory way, dressed in a $10,000 suit. Kaito's head snapped up. His relief vanished, replaced by a cold, hard fury. "Thorne," Kaito growled. Marcus Thorne, CEO of Vanguard Solutions and Kaito's #1 rival for the Omnicorp bid, smiled. "Imagine my surprise. I saw you come in. I must say, it's the most entertaining floor show I've seen all year." Marcus Thorne hadn't just been dining. He had been hunting. His intelligence team had flagged a high-probability ghost arrival for Kaito Tanaka sometime this week. Thorne had been dining at the Gilded Spire every night, knowing it was a neutral, high-powered spot, hoping to catch a glimpse of Kaito's team. He never dreamed he'd get to see the man himself, humiliated and alone. He had watched the entire scene, from Kaito's plea to Blackwood's sneer, with a growing, savage delight. He did nothing. He just watched, sipping his Macallan 50. "Marcus," Kaito said, his voice now dangerously low. He had already straightened his suit jacket. The desperate old man was gone, replaced by the shark Ella had read about. "You look unwell, Kato," Thorne said, strolling over. He completely ignored Ella, as if she were a piece of furniture. "Bad time to be out of contact. You know, I was just having dinner with the Omnicorp board. They're nervous. They value stability, strength." He looked Kaito up and down. This is not a strong look." "What do you want, Thorne?" Kaito asked. "Oh, just to help a colleague," Thorne said, his smile all teeth. "In fact, my car is right outside. I can give you a lift. We can talk. Maybe we can come to an arrangement, a joint bid. Vanguard Tanaka has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?" The threat was clear. Kaito knew what the arrangement meant. Thorne would leak Kaito's instability to the press, claim he was missing or having a breakdown, and demand a controlling 60% stake in the joint bid, or he'd sink the whole deal for both of them. He was using Kaito's humiliation as blackmail. "I would rather walk barefoot to my embassy," Kaito said. Thorne chuckled. "Brave words. But from where I'm sitting, you're not in a position to bargain. You're a ghost. You're not at your hotel. Your security has no idea where you are. You're a non-entity." He leaned in. "By the time your people find you, the 9 a.m. meeting will be over. And I will be the sole bidder." This was the trap. Thorne wasn't going to help him. He was going to abduct him, in the most polite, corporate way possible. He would take him on a friendly drive for a few hours, just long enough for Kaito to miss the most important meeting of his life. "He's not going with you," Ella's voice, again. Thorne turned, finally acknowledging her. He looked at her name tag. "Ella, thank you for your service, but the adults are talking." "She's right," Kaito said, standing. He was still shaky, but his voice was iron. "I am in her care." Thorne laughed, a real, ugly sound. "In her care? A waitress? Kaito, you really have lost your mind. What is she going to do? Protect you with a breadstick?" Ella stepped slightly in front of Kaito. Her heart was hammering so hard she thought it would break her ribs. She was facing down two of the most powerful men on Earth. "Mr. Thorne," she said, her voice trembling only slightly. "As a student of international business at NYU, I know exactly who you are, and I know what tortious interference is. You are attempting to sabotage a legal business contract, and right now I am the only witness, so I'd choose your next words very, very carefully." Thorne's smile faltered. The waitress had teeth. "And," Ella added, "as an employee of this establishment, I can tell you that your credit card was just declined." It was a total, bald-faced lie. But it was brilliant. Thorne's eyes widened. He reflexively patted his jacket. The idea of public, financial embarrassment was, to a man like him, worse than any physical threat. "What? That's preposterous." "Is it?" Ella said, bluffing with all her might. "Maybe you should go sort that out with Mr. Blackwood. I'm sure he'd be happy to have a loud, detailed conversation with you about your insufficient funds in the middle of the dining room." Thorne was caught. He could call her bluff, but if she was telling the truth, it would be a humiliation he'd never recover from. He looked at Kaito, then at Ella. He had underestimated the girl. "This isn't over, Tanaka," he snarled. "It will be," Kaito replied. "At 9 a.m. tomorrow." Thorne shot Ella a look of pure venom. "You'll regret this, little girl. You have no idea what you just stepped into." He turned and stalked out of the restaurant, shouldering a panicked-looking Arthur Blackwood out of the way to check on his bill. The alcove was silent. Kaito Tanaka looked at Ella, a new respect dawning in his eyes. "That," he said in Japanese, "was the bravest thing I have ever seen." I think I'm going to be sick, Ella whispered, slumping against a wine rack. Not yet, Kaito said. The night is far from over. I must contact my team. I need a secure line, one that Mr. Thorne cannot trace. He looked around the opulent restaurant. I cannot trust this place. The manager, he is weak. Thorne may have friends here. He was right. Blackwood, terrified, was a liability. The staff, the other patrons. Thorne could have eyes everywhere. Ella-san, Kaito said, using the respectful honorific. I am about to ask you for a favor that is far, far too large. But I have no one else. My apartment, Ella said, her mind already working. It's small, it's cheap, but no one on earth knows it exists. And she took a deep breath. My laptop is secure. My last internship. It was with a cybersecurity firm. I still have their VPN protocols. Kaito nodded, a small, grim smile on his face. A student, a waitress, and a cybersecurity expert. You are a woman of many talents, Ella Vance. We need a car, Ella said. At that moment, Arthur Blackwood, having confirmed Thorne's card, was, in fact, perfectly fine, scurried over, his face pale and sweating. Mr. Tanaka, sir, a terrible misunderstanding. I had no idea. Please, your meal, it's on the house. A bottle of our best champagne. Anything. Kaito looked at him with cold, dead eyes. You, he said in English, are a fool. He turned to Ella. How do we leave? Blackwood, desperate, saw his one tiny chance. My driver, my personal car. He's downstairs. Please, Mr. Tanaka, as an apology. He'll take you anywhere. The St. Regis? The embassy? Ella and Kaito shared a look. It was perfect. No, Ella said, taking charge. He'll take us to my place. And Mr. Blackwood? Yes, Miss Vance. You will tell no one where we went. Not Mr. Thorne. Not the Millers. Not even the wind. Do you understand? Yes. Yes, of course. Good, Ella said, helping Kaito to his feet. Now, I'm going to need to clock out. The ride to Ella's apartment in Queens was a study in contrasts. They sat in the silent, leather-clad luxury of Arthur Blackwood's Mercedes, a bubble of wealth cutting through the gritty, vibrant streets of the city. Kaito stared out the window, his face unreadable. He had spent the last hour as a non-person and was now a passenger in a stranger's car, his entire empire hanging by a thread. Ella's apartment building was a 6-story pre-war walk-up. The lobby smelled of old carpet and disinfectant. There was no doorman, only a buzzing intercom. It's on the 5th floor, Ella said apologetically, as Kaito followed her up the narrow, creaking stairs. The elevator, it's not reliable. It is authentic, Kaito said, his breath pluming slightly in the cool air of the stairwell. The apartment itself was small, meticulously clean, but overwhelmingly full. Stacks of textbooks, finance, Japanese history, corporate law, battled for space with stacks of bills. A single small framed photo sat on a tiny end table, a smiling, younger Ella, with her mother, who was vibrant and standing. Kaito looked at the photo for a long moment. It explained everything. My mother, Ella said, her voice soft. She's at the Mount Sinai Special Care Wing. She is beautiful, Kaito said simply, in Japanese. The laptop, Ella said, shaking off the moment. This way. Her office was a small desk crammed into the corner of her living room. She pulled out a slightly battered, high-spec laptop. My internship was at CyberCore, she explained. They handled threat assessment for high-level clients. I was just an intern, but I may have kept the secure shell client. It tunnels through 3 different continents before it even hits a server. If you have your credentials, this is the safest way to connect. Kaito watched her fingers fly across the keyboard, typing in lines of code. He was, to put it mildly, stunned. This was not a simple VPN. This was military grade. You are not just a student, he observed. I'm just in debt, Ella muttered. Okay, the shell is open. It's asking for a host. For the next hour, Kaito took over. He spoke no English. He spoke only in numbers, codes, and rapid-fire Japanese. He was connecting to his dark server, a private off-grid network only his inner circle could access. He didn't make a phone call. He initiated a secure three-way video teleconference. His two top executives, his head of security, a former JSDF intelligence officer, and his lead counsel materialized on the screen. Their faces were frantic until they saw Kaito, safe, in a strange floral-papered room. "Tanaka-sama, are you safe? We lost your signal." "I am safe," Kaito said. "I am with an asset. Listen, Protocol Kiri, MIST, is compromised. Thorne knows I am here. He attempted to intercept me." The faces on the screen went dark. "He is spreading rumors," Kaito continued, "that I am unstable, missing. He will use this to challenge my bid at Eero 900. We must move faster." "What are your orders?" his security chief asked. "Deploy Protocol Akai. Read. The full file. Send it to the Omnicorp board and to the Wall Street Journal as an anonymous tip. Time it for Eero 800 and—" Kaito's eyes narrowed. "I want a new location for the meeting. My location. 0900. Send a car." To this address. He had Ella type her address into the secure chat. "But sir," his lawyer protested, "that file, it contains the leverage on Vanguard's German subsidiary, the illegal leverage." "Yes," Kaito said, "it does. Thorne wishes to play. What is the American expression? Hardball. We will play. And the Omnicorp deal? Will be signed," Kaito said. "But not at their tower. Here." "Here?" Ella squeaked. "In my apartment." Kaito held up a hand. "No, at your other place of work." He smiled, a thin, dangerous smile. "The Gilded Spire, private dining room, 0900. Make it happen." His team, now mobilized, scrambled to execute. The calls ended. Kaito closed the laptop. The silence in the small apartment was deafening. "That," Kaito said, "should handle Mr. Thorne." "What? What was Protocol Akai?" Ella asked. "A safety deposit box," Kaito said. "Information I have held for 5 years. Proof that Marcus Thorne built his company on stolen technology and illegal trade. I had hoped never to use it. He gave me no choice." Ella just nodded, her mind reeling. She had just participated in a corporate execution. And then her phone buzzed. It wasn't a text. It was a call from Mount Sinai, billing. Her blood turned to ice. They never called this late. She fumbled for the phone, her hand shaking. "Hello?" She listened. Kaito watched her. He watched the color drain from her face. He watched her hand go to her mouth, her eyes widen in sheer, unadulterated terror. "What?" she whispered. No, it was supposed to be covered for another month. No, I know it's experimental. $20,000. By when?" Ella sank onto a small sofa, her legs giving out. "By morning," she choked. "By 8 a.m., or you'll discharge her. No, please, you can't. I'll get it. "Yes." She hung up. She didn't cry. She just stared at the wall, her entire body vibrating with silent panic. The new treatment had failed. Her mother had developed a complication. She needed an emergency procedure, one that was not covered by her insurance, and the hospital, a cold, bureaucratic machine, would not perform it without a $20,000 deposit. By 8 a.m., in 9 hours. "Ella-san," Kaito said gently. I have to go," she said, standing up on robotic legs. "I have to, I don't know, a loan shark. I have to." She was grabbing her jacket, tears now streaming down her face. She had saved a billionaire, but she was about to lose her mother. The irony was so cruel, so suffocating, she couldn't breathe. "Ella," Kaito said, his voice firm. He stood up. He put his hands on her shoulders. "You will do no such thing." "You don't understand," she wept. "I'm out of time." "No," he said. "You are not." He sat her down. He picked up her phone. "Who is the head of that hospital?" Dr. Alistair Finch, the administrator." Kaito Tanaka took her phone. He opened his own secure laptop again. He made one more, very short, very quiet video call. Not to his team, to a different number. A man's face appeared. He looked sleepy. "Kaito, it is 3 a.m. in Tokyo. This had better—" "Kenji," Kaito said, "I need you to buy a hospital." "Buy a hospital?" Kaito's contact, Kenji Watanabe, head of Tanaka Global's vast M&A division, was suddenly wide awake. "Mount Sinai," Kaito said, "specifically their neurological research wing. I want a controlling interest. I want it by 5 a.m. New York time. Use the Humanity Fund. Spare no expense." "Kaito, that's a $1 billion expenditure, minimum. The board will thank me," Kaito said. "And Kenji, I want Dr. Alistair Finch's personal cell phone number. I want it now." Ella watched this, stunned into silence. Her personal crisis, a mountain that was about to crush her, was being treated by Kaito Tanaka as a simple line item. 5 minutes later, Kaito was on Ella's phone, speaking to a very confused and very sleepy Dr. Finch. "Dr. Finch," Kaito said in his precise, accented English. "My name is Kaito Tanaka. I do not believe we have met. But as of 4 minutes ago, I am the primary benefactor of your neurological wing. Yes, that Kaito Tanaka." There was a long silence. Ella could hear a faint, sputtering sound from the phone's earpiece. "I am calling," Kaito continued, "about a patient, Mrs. Eleanor Vance. Yes, her treatment is to proceed, all of it. The $20,000 procedure, you will perform it, and you will bill it to my new fund. You will also, I am told, be discharging her. This is unacceptable. You will move her to the VIP penthouse suite, the one you keep for senators. You will assign her your 3 best nurses, and you will personally oversee her care." Another pause. "Apologies? Apologies are insufficient. You, Dr. Finch, will be at the hospital at 6 a.m. to greet Mrs. Vance's daughter, Ella, personally. You will assure her. And if Mrs. Vance's care is anything less than perfect—" Kaito let the threat hang in the air. "Am I understood?" He clicked. End. He handed the phone back to Ella. She was trembling. "Mr. Tanaka, I cannot." "You can," Kaito said, "and you will. You did not ask for a reward. You asked for nothing. You simply did. This is not a gift, Ella-san. This is logistics. Your mother was a problem. I have solved the problem. Now we have work to do." At 4:30 a.m., a silent, armored black car appeared on Ella's street. Kaito's personal security team, flown in from D.C., had arrived. "I must go," Kaito said. "I must prepare for 9 a.m. "What about me?" Ella asked, her voice small. "My job. Mr. Blackwood." "You," Kaito said, "will go to the hospital at 6 a.m. You will see your mother. You will see Dr. Finch. Then you will put on your uniform, and you will go to work. Be at the Gilded Spire by 8:30. They will need your expertise." It was a strange request, but Ella was in no position to argue. "Yes, sir." He paused at her door. "Ella-san, what you did tonight, facing Thorne, your quick thinking, your honor, that is rare. You are a samurai. Do not forget it." He bowed deeply, and then he was gone. Ella did not sleep. She went to the hospital at 6 a.m. It was exactly as Kaito had said. A terrified Dr. Finch met her at the door, bowing and scraping, personally escorting her to the penthouse suite where her mother was already resting, a team of doctors buzzing around her. Her mother, sleepy from sedatives but stable, smiled. "Ella, honey, they're treating me like a queen," Ella cried, tears of a relief so profound it was painful. She stayed until 7:30, then raced home, put on her black and white uniform, and took the subway to the Gilded Spire. She arrived at 8:30 a.m., walking in through the employee entrance. The restaurant was in total, unadulterated chaos. Ella walked into the main dining room to find Arthur Blackwood screaming at a group of men in dark suits. "On what authority? I am the manager. This is my restaurant. You cannot just—" "Mr. Blackwood," one of the men said, not looking up from a tablet. "As of 6:05 a.m. this morning, your employment has been terminated. Your restaurant was sold via an overnight leveraged buyout to the Tanaka Global Hospitality Fund. Please remove your personal effects. Security will escort you." Blackwood turned, and he saw Ella. His face, already a blotchy red, turned a ghostly white. "You," he hissed. "This is your fault." He lunged at her, a primal scream of frustration, but the security guards caught him. "You witch! You ruined me!" "No, Mr. Blackwood," Ella said, her voice quiet. "You ruined yourself. You just didn't know the price until today." He was dragged out the back, still cursing. A new woman, a sharp Japanese executive in a priceless suit, approached Ella. "Miss Vance, I am Misaki, Mr. Tanaka's chief of staff. He said you would be here. We need the private dining room set. For 10. As Ella and the new team began setting the room with the finest silver, the 8 a.m. news flashed on the big television over the bar. A financial anchor was practically shouting, "This is just in. A catastrophic leak from Vanguard Solutions. Reports are surfacing of massive illegal trade practices. My God. We are getting word that German authorities have just raided their Berlin offices. Vanguard stock it's not just falling, it's in free fall. It's down 80% in pre-market. This is a bloodbath. CEO Marcus Thorne well, we're hearing he's been detained by federal agents at his home. We repeat, Marcus Thorne is in custody." Ella just placed a water glass on the table. At 8:45 a.m., the restaurant's front doors opened. The Millers, the wealthy, rude couple from the night before, strolled in for their power breakfast. "Table 4, Mr. Miller barked at Misaki, mistaking her for the new restaurant manager. Misaki looked at her tablet. "Ah, Mr. and Mrs. Miller. Yes, I'm afraid I have a note here. Due to unforeseen market corrections, your membership at the Gilded Spire has been permanently revoked. Your house tab, which is apparently quite large, is also due. In full." Now, Mrs. Miller's face turned the color of bad milk. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes," Misaki said, tapping her screen. "The wife of a man who just lost 90% of his net worth by shorting the wrong stock. Security?" As the Millers were being escorted out, a new, much more important group was being escorted in. The board of Omnicorp, looking shell-shocked but resolute, was shown to the private dining room. At 8:59 a.m., Kaito Tanaka walked in. He was not the man from last night. He was in an immaculate, dark navy suit, his hair perfectly coiffed. He looked like the titan he was. He paused at the door, where Ella was standing. "Good morning, Ella-san," he said. "Good morning, Mr. Tanaka," she replied, holding a silver coffee pot. "Would you care for some coffee?" "I would," he said. "Thank you." He entered the room. The door shut. Ella was left in the hallway, her heart pounding. She had just served coffee to the man she saved, who in turn saved her mother, who was now in the process of closing a multi-billion-dollar deal. she had to admit. It was, by far, the strangest shift she'd ever worked. The hour that followed was the most surreal of Ella's life. At Kaito Tanaka's insistence, communicated via a crisp nod to his chief of staff, Misaki, Ella was not dismissed. She was, instead, given a fresh white apron and a silver tray. "Mr. Tanaka requested you personally serve the meeting," Misaki had said, her face impossible to read. "He trusts your discretion." Ella, numb and running on pure adrenaline, did just that. She poured coffee, she refilled water, and she became invisible. But this time, it was an invisibility of her own choosing. She became a silent observer, a ghost in her own uniform, as the meeting in the private dining room unfolded. The Omnicorp board members, 5 men and 2 women, who collectively controlled a significant portion of the American tech industry, were rattled. They had been awoken by frantic 8 a.m. calls about their primary bidder, Marcus Thorne, being arrested. They had been rerouted to this restaurant, which they now learned was owned by their secondary bidder. Kaito Tanaka was not the man Ella had met last night. That man was gone. In his place sat a titan, a shark. He was polite, almost serene, but his every word was a steel blade. "Ladies, gentlemen," Kaito began, his English precise. "My apologies for the theatricality of this morning. It seems the market is in a volatile state." Jameson Hayes, the Omnicorp chairman, cleared his throat. "Kaito, let's cut the pleasantries. We all saw the news. Thorne is out. Vanguard it's gone. Wiped off the map in an hour. This was you." Kaito took a sip of the coffee Ella had just poured. He looked at her, a fractional, almost imperceptible nod of thanks, before turning back to Hayes. "Mr. Thorne was a reckless gambler, Mr. Hayes. He over-leveraged his company, built it on a foundation of illegalities. I did not wipe him off the map. I simply turned on the lights. The cockroaches scattered on their own. His coldness was terrifying. This was the man who had trembled in her apartment." "But this leaves us with a problem," a board member named Sarah Smith countered. "You are now the only bidder. We're exposed. We expected a bidding war. Now you hold all the cards. You could lower your offer." Kaito smiled, a slow, thin smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Lower my offer? Ms. Smith, you misunderstand me. I am not here to get a deal. I am here to build an empire. I am raising my offer." The room was stunned. "I am adding," Kaito said, $10 billion to the acquisition price." Hayes sputtered. "You're... what? Why?" "Because," Kaito said, "I am not buying your company. I am buying your loyalty. I am buying your talent. The extra $10 billion is not for the shareholders. It is an immediate retention and innovation bonus to be distributed only to the employees, to your engineers, your designers, your support staff, the people you were going to lay off in the merger. With Mr. Thorne, your company would have been stripped for parts. With me, it will be given a purpose." He leaned forward. "Thorne wanted your satellites. I want your minds. My offer is $40 billion for the company and $10 billion for its soul. That is my only offer. You will accept it, and you will not, ever, question my generosity again." Ella felt a shiver go down her spine. This was power. Not just money, but a fundamental understanding of human motivation. The signing was a formality. The board, dazed and elated, signed the documents Misaki had prepared. They stood. They shook Kaito's hand. As they filed out, Jameson Hayes paused and smiled warmly at Ella. "Thank you for the coffee, young lady. It was excellent." Ella just nodded, her face placid. "Of course, sir." The door clicked shut. It was 10:15 a.m. Kaito Tanaka and Ella Vance were alone in the room. The table was a mess of signed documents, empty coffee cups and pastry crumbs. The adrenaline that had held Ella up for 12 straight hours suddenly drained away, leaving her exhausted and unsteady. "You may sit, Ella-san," Kaito said, his voice softer now. The Titan was receding. She sank into one of the plush chairs. Misaki re-entered the room. She was all business. She walked directly to Ella, holding a single, long envelope. "Miss Vance," Misaki said, her voice crisp. "On behalf of the Tanaka Global Hospitality Fund, which now owns this establishment, I am authorized to terminate your employment." Ella's stomach dropped. After all that. Fired. We feel your skill set is no longer a match for our needs." Misaki's face was a mask, but Ella thought she saw a tiny flicker of amusement in her eyes. "As per your one night of service, we have prepared a severance package." She placed the envelope on the table. Ella opened it. Inside was a check. It was for $50,000. Ella stared at it. $50,000. It was more than she made in a year. It would cover her mother's care for months. It was a life-changing amount of money, and it felt empty. It felt like a transaction, a payment for services rendered, the most expensive tip in history. "Thank you," Ella whispered, her throat thick. "You may go," Misaki said. "A car is waiting to take you home." Ella stood up. She looked at Kaito. He was watching her, his face impassive, like a professor waiting for a student to solve a complex problem. "Mr. Tanaka," Ella said, her voice small but finding strength. She pushed the check back across the table. Misaki raised an eyebrow. Kaito did not move. "Mr. Tanaka, I cannot accept this." "It is a fair price," Kaito said. "A finder's fee. You found me. I am paying you for your time." "No," Ella said. "It's not my time. My shift. That's worth whatever my hourly wage is. Maybe $100. This," she tapped the check, "this is a go-away fee. This is, thank you, you've been dismissed. And I can't take it." "You are a fool, then," Kaito said, his voice flat. "I might be," Ella agreed, tears welling in her eyes, born of frustration and exhaustion. "But I want to thank you. Not for this. I want to thank you for what you did for my mother. That wasn't business. That wasn't a finder's fee. You saved her life. You called a doctor at 3 a.m. You bought a hospital wing." She was crying now, but she didn't care. "I can never repay you for that. Never. Taking this money, it feels like it's trying to put a price on that. And it's insulting. So thank you, Mr. Tanaka, for my mother. The rest, you can keep it." She turned to leave, her legs shaking. She was walking away from $50,000. She was walking away from the strangest night of her life. She would go home. She would sleep. And then she would figure out how to find a new job. "Stop!" Kaito's voice was a command. She paused at the door, her back to him. "Turn around, Ella-san." She turned. Kaito Tanaka had stood up. He walked around the table until he was standing directly in front of her. Misaki had, at some point, vanished. "You are correct," Kaito said. "The $50,000 is an insult. It was a test, a final one. And you have passed. A test? I have rooms full of people, Ella-san, who would have taken the check. They would have bowed, they would have scraped, and they would have vanished. They have a price. You do not. That is good." He clasped his hands behind his back. "When I was 23, your age, I was a clerk, a data entry drone in a vast shipping company. I was invisible. I wore a grey suit. I ate rice at my desk. No one saw me. No one knew my name. Ella watched him, confused. But I watched, he continued. I saw the waste, the inefficiency, what you call, the stupidity of my superiors. They could not see. They looked at a shipping manifest. I saw a map of the world. They saw a container. I saw a system. He looked at her, his eyes intense. Last night, you didn't see a bum, a vagrant. You looked past the filth, and you saw a man. You saw me. That is a skill. It is a power. It is rarer than a PhD. It is rarer than $1 billion. In Japan we have a word, kikubari. It means the art of seeing, of attentiveness. You have this. It is in your bones. I don't understand, sir. I am offering you a job, Ella Vance, and not as a waitress. He walked back to the table and retrieved a thick, leather-bound file from his briefcase. He handed it to her. I am a logician, Ella-san. I solve problems. My new Tanaka Sinai neurological wing is a problem. It is a nest of American billing codes, of bureaucratic dragons. It terrifies me. A small smile played on his lips. You understand this world. You have fought this world. You have bled for this world. I want you to command it. Ella's jaw dropped. Command it? You will be my personal board liaison. You will be my dragon slayer. You will report only to me. You will ensure that no other mother has her care contingent. You will fix it. You will have my full authority and a budget that will make Dr. Alistair Finch weep. Ella was speechless. I'm a student. I don't know anything about running a hospital. You know what is wrong with it, Kaito countered. That is more than my experts know. You will learn the rest. He held up a hand. But that is a small task, what you call a side hustle. He tapped the folder. I have a foundation, the Tanaka Cultural Exchange. It is my guilt fund. I have so much money. It becomes a burden. I try to give it away. My people, they give it to museums, to operas. They build bronze statues of me. He rolled his eyes, a gesture so human it shocked Ella. I want to give it to people like you. People with gammon, endurance, to suffer and not show it. To fight. People with Hun, a true self. People who are invisible, but who have a fire inside. He was inches from her now, his passion a palpable thing. I want you to be the new director of my foundation. I want you to find the other Ella Vances, the scientists, the artists, the students, who are one bad night, one illness, away from ruin. You will find them. You will see them, as you saw me, and you will give them a sword. Ella finally found her voice. It was a squeak. Mr. Tanaka, I'm 23 years old. I serve coffee. You want me to be a director? To run a multi-million-dollar foundation? She was hyperventilating. I am not qualified. Kaito laughed. A real, sharp, sudden laugh. Qualified? He barked. Miss Vance, I have entire buildings full of qualified men. They have MBAs from Harvard, from Yale, and and every single one of them would have left me on the street. They would have bowed to Marcus Thorne. They would have sold me, sold you, sold their own mothers, for a 2% gain. He was shouting now, his face alive with a fierce, burning energy. They are mercenaries. They are samurai for hire. They have no bushido, no code. They are hollow. He stopped, breathing hard. He pointed a single, trembling finger at her chest. You, he said, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper. You have a code. You protected a stranger. You faced a monster. You used your enemies, his own vanity, against him. He smiled, remembering her lie about Thorne's credit card. That was masterful. You are not qualified, Ellison. You are essential. He stepped back. Your education. Yes, it is incomplete. That is why you will accept my offer of a full scholarship. But my classes, not at NYU, Kaito said, waving his hand dismissively. Your mind, it is wasted there. You will come to Tokyo. You will get your MBA at my university, at Todai, and you will learn from me. You will be my uchideshi, my inside student. Ella's mind was a spinning, fractured kaleidoscope. Tokyo, a job, a hospital, a foundation, her mother. My mother, she said, the words catching in her throat. I can't leave her. I can't. Kaito held up his hand, silencing her. He smiled, and this time it was a smile of pure, genuine warmth. It transformed his face, chasing away the shark, revealing the man. Ella-san, the Tanaka Sinai Neurological Wing has a new Gulfstream G700. It is a critical patient transport jet. I think your mother will enjoy the view. She will have the best doctors in the world, in Tokyo, in New York, wherever she wishes to be. That is your decision. As the head of her care team. Ella looked down at the leather folder in her hands. She looked at the $50,000 check, a bribe, still sitting on the table. She looked at the half-eaten pastries, remnants of a world she had only ever served, and she looked at the man in front of her. Not a billionaire, not a victim, but a sensei, a mentor. I don't know how to be a director, Mr. Tanaka, she whispered. I will teach you, he said. I don't know how to live in Tokyo. You will learn, he said. You speak the language of my heart. The rest is just vocabulary. A single tear rolled down Ella's cheek. It was not a tear of fear or of sadness. It was a tear of release. The crushing weight of her life, the bills, the fear, the hopelessness. It was just gone. She wiped the tear away with the back of her hand, smudging a bit of... Was that lobster? From last night? She opened the folder. Inside was a contract, thick and heavy, written in both English and Japanese. At the top it read, Employment Offer, Ella S. Vance. Kaito pulled a pen from his inside pocket. It was not a cheap restaurant pen. It was heavy, black, and gold. He held it out to her. Ella took the pen. Her hand was steady. She looked at Kaito Tanaka. There's one more thing. Yes? You called me a samurai. I did. Samurai. They have a master. A daimyo. They do. 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 They have a master. A daimyo Kaito said, his eyes watchful. I will not be your servant, Mr. Tanaka. I will not be your pet project. I will be your partner. Or nothing. Kaito Tanaka stared at her. The silence in the room stretched. He had offered her the world, and she was negotiating. And then for the third time, Kaito Tanaka smiled. But this smile was different. It was not a shark's smile, or a warm smile. It was a smile of pure, unadulterated respect. A partner, he mused. He extended his hand. A junior partner. For now. Ella smiled back. For now. She clicked the pen, and on the last page of the contract, next to Kaito Tanaka's own, powerful signature, she signed her name. And just like that, a single act of kindness, a single word in the right language, changed everything. Ella's story shows us that you never, ever know who you're talking to. It's a powerful reminder that kindness and courage are their own reward. But sometimes the dividends are bigger than you could ever imagine. What did you think of Kaito's revenge? Was it justice, or was it just business? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please give it a like. It really helps the channel. Share this video with someone who needs to see a little bit of karma delivered. And most importantly, if you want more stories of drama, twists and justice, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. We have a new story coming for you very soon.